Hey, this is Jason with ArtSpeak Creative, and man, what a privilege to be on a call with a good friend of mine, a pastor in St. Louis on the Illinois side of the river, doing a fantastic work, fantastic church, has navigated through what honestly has been one of the most difficult ministry seasons that any of us have lived through over the last 18 months. And he's done it in a way, I wanted to bring the story to you really from start to finish, but even they have used this season and what I think will be a catalyst for lives change in the greater St. Louis area. It's Pastor David Hawkins. He's with us.
Glad to be here, Jason.
Or as I like to call you, D-Hawk, Pastor D-Hawk. Yeah. Man, you've got quite the story. You're in East St. Louis, now Collinsville, Illinois. Undergraduate though from Mizzou, correct? And but then it took a turn at some point and ended up with a theology degree from Covenant Seminary. You're a regular speaker at our home church, The Crossing, here in St. Louis. But you're pastoring Living the Word Church, which is thriving, I would say, from my perspective during quarantine. Doing a lot of tons of good. Man, if we could rewind the tape to the beginning, you started. You just wanted to be a pastor your whole life. Is that true?
Oh no, no one in their right mind wants to be a pastor. Like, you really understand the role and the labor. You don't sign up for that, right?
Right.
For me, my dad was a pastor for 40 plus years. And so I saw the backside of pastoring. I saw the closet side of pastoring. And so I ran as far away from that as possible, into the point where I came irreligious, practical atheistic, even to the point of experimenting with other religions. And so my story is that God literally caught me in college. And from there began this journey of ministry and what is my purpose and what is my calling. And somehow God decided to give me the seat on the bus that gets the most bumps, called pastoring.
Okay. Tell me about that though. You took over the church. Man, that was in the last century, right? You've been there a while.
I've been there, man, 24 years to be exact.
And it was probably mega church at that time, blowing and going. And you were like, that's the next best opportunity. No?
Listen, it was absolutely the opposite of mega. It was minor. It was so when
that's a minor church. That'll preach.
Minor, right? So it was interesting because I guess part of the story is so loaded with what I'll call long obedience. It's nothing that was attractive about it. It was simple. I trust you, God. I believe this is what you called me to. Because I mean, if I chose the way I wanted to go, I would have gone to, Texas, California, Miami, and pastor the church if that was my choice. But God called me back home to a city that has been wrote about. It's been in the news. It's been talked about, from violence to gangs to poverty. It's a place I grew up in, that I grew up most of my life wanting to escape from. And so when I came back to the city, I came back with a business degree from Mizzou with an entire intention to go out into the world, right, beyond St. Louis and East St. Louis. And I come to a church with 24 members. They asked me to pastor them, right? This is the crazy part about it, Jason. They asked me to pastor them. And I was like, no, let me just be your minister, keep the legacy of my dad going. And then when I graduate, I'm out. About 2 months into this journey after my father's death, of going from Columbia, driving 2 hours to come in to preach on Sunday mornings. Like, I'm taking 18 credit hours in school and I'm pastoring on the weekends. And this particular 2 months in, this particular Sunday, I felt just the overwhelming of the Holy Spirit that this is what I'm called to do. I mean, I'm crying for at least an hour. I'm just crying, saying, oh, I surrender. And I imagine how this conversation is going to go when I get to the church. So everyone comes in and we do our start of service and people are there. And I say, hey guys, we're not going to do church as normal. This is going to be simple. I want to make the announcement. You all asked me to pastor you. I told you I would be your minister, but after prayer and consideration, I feel that this is what God has called me to do. And so I accept the role. 22 people got up and walked out.
Right in the middle of service.
It was something out of a movie. It was right in the middle of service. And so I was able to catch up with one of the persons. And I said, well, what's the problem? They said, well, we've really been thinking about that. And you're just too young to lead us. And I'm talking about, you talk about post-traumatic stress and some triggers when people say you're too young.
Yeah.
And as we got into the church, church is not just about worship and services. It also has a business side to it that I got thrust into. And so we had to go get all our paperwork together. And that was my first thing, get paperwork together. I don't know what paperwork, but I began to find out what paperwork I needed. Went to the bank, found out we owed the bank $500. So we were negative $500 in the church's bank account. So I didn't come into any money or any resources. And I used my college student loan to put the church in the block. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. But now, you weathered some storms, you made it through some seasons, good, bad, I'm sure, all of the above. The church had grown, right? 600 people plus, and you're making a big impact in East St. Louis, an area a lot of need now. Collinsville, you're feeding people, you're helping people, you're raising people up. But you got some passions in that. That's birthed something in you, right? Tell me a little bit about your passion for healthy church.
Yeah, I think healthy church is a word that I never applied to church, first of all. Like, whoever thinks church is supposed to be healthy, we're just supposed to be obedient and faithful. And I think that's one of the missing elements of church today, is that we often talk about being faithful and obedient and just trusting God. But if I do that from an unhealthy place, I ultimately murky up the waters of the kingdom. And so for me, when I embraced it, I actually came into a book that I read years ago, and I actually followed him for a while, Pete Scazzero, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality and Emotionally Healthy Life. It literally transformed how, that book right there, that book changed the way I saw church. It helped me to realize that if I'm not well, the church can't be well. And it just reiterated a principle that I think Jesus embodies, which is, before Jesus did anything magnanimous in ministry, he called 12 unto himself. And I think any leader leading a church without a team is going totally against the precedent of Jesus Christ. So healthiness is the key. And so now here's the thing about it. We're dealing with the culture when I come into pastoring where it was crazy. It was crazy. Mega church growth. It was the onset of churches buying stadiums and filling them up. It was all of this beautiful church paparazzi going on. And everything was almost steroidal, right? Everything was fast paced, move and, throw furniture against the window and trust God, take out the stained glass and put curtains over them and let this become a production. And so it became a chase, a hamster meal performance role, right? Let me see if I got the biggest church. It became, I go to conferences and it's about who got the biggest toys and who got the most members and who has that. But how are the people doing? Are they growing? Are they able to navigate the rhythms of life? And that's what I came to a crescendo of revelation. I said, we can do all this stuff well, but if the people aren't well, or if they don't see a model of healthiness, what have I really done?
Wow. That'll preach. Thank you. That is good. I know you and I are in a group together that in the busyness, and we'll talk more about how busy you've been in the last couple of months, but you have been setting apart some time to meet with me and some other pastors and leaders in the country just to read through the Gospels. Right now, reading through the book of Acts, part of the Jesus experience. But you mentioned something that stood out, and I know this is fresh for you, and I know this isn't in our notes, but I just I'm going to read a verse that you brought up to me earlier today. And I think it fits right in with what you're saying. Like, there needs to be a depth of health in the people. And you inspired me earlier. So I'm just going to read this and then I just preach it for me. So guard yourselves and God's people, feed and shepherd God's flock, his church, purchased with his own blood, over which the Holy Spirit has appointed you as elders. That's Acts 20, verse 28. What stood out to you, man?
I mean, listen, man, when you are able to read the scriptures, I think the scriptures really become more unfolding as you go through life experiences. For so many years, I've read that scripture over and over again, and I've always jumped to the second part of that first part of that scripture. It says, so guard yourselves and the flock, or God's sheep, God's church, rather.
Sure.
I always superimpose the second part, guard God's church. And I totally skipped the first part of that, which it says, guard yourself. And that key word is the conjunction, and the church of God. So often I think leaders come into this thing called pastoring or leadership, and we jump to the second part. And I realize that if I'm not well, and if I'm not leading from a healthy place, my toxicity spews out into the church. And in some way, shape, form, or fashion, I create a paradigm that's unsustainable.
Wow, I love that. I really love that, because if we get healthy and our focus isn't just on growing or getting big, but we get healthy, if our focus on getting healthy, and then those that we influence, those that we lead now, and we're going to care for them and they get healthy, now you have a foundation to grow. And your church you have added numbers, you have added influence. I know our team at ArtSpeak started working with you. It's almost been a year, the summer of 2020. Crazy year. Summer of 2020, a lot of people were just, trying to find equilibrium. But you came to us, we got connected with you. You had a lot of vision. What was going on with your church then? Maybe a year ago, last summer, pandemic, things are shut down. Illinois was one of the most strict states when it came to those shutdowns. What were the goals? What was going on when we first connected about a year ago?
Well, I'm a bow tie what you just said. And I'm gonna come right to that.
Yeah.
Healthy things grow. Like as a church planter and as a church leader, we oftentimes think that the hard work doesn't produce results. It just takes longer, but it's sustainable down the road. So I would encourage any leader, pastor, that if you do the hard work and laying that foundation now, you can build any kind of house you want to. It's a health. So for us, back in June, God, life just flew by us, June 2020. Yeah. Well, for us, we were at a place where we were literally growing, but we needed to have a more focused message. And I'm a big person about forecasting. I see what the trends are, the technology is leading us to. And I realized the marketplace of social media and the marketplace of the internet church is going to be the predominant way we feed our people. And I needed help with that. I needed help with messaging because we had a lot of good stuff, but I call it the shotgun approach. You're going to hit something, but you're going to hit a lot of other stuff too. Versus being more of a sniper where you kind of focus in on one or two things well. And that's where we needed help. We needed help to tell our story. We also needed help to tell our story about our building campaign. Like for the first time in 7 years, we were able to finally settle in on a home. We had been just from place to place to place to place to place. And I was like, hey, we need help.
Yeah, but you did settle in. Tell us a little bit about the building. I know that was a year ago. You were like, hey, we need a fundraising brochure. We need to refresh the branding, and we've accomplished that. But tell me, about that building then, what it was before, what you're headed towards now. I know we're just a couple weeks away, right? Or 2 weeks away from the grand opening in the building on Mother's Day. Tell that story. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. So we were in this phase of looking for a building for 7 years. We were renting a building from another church for that length of time. And it was just being in another man's shoe. Your feet get musty after a while, we were growing. That church was declining. So that was a real difficult season, but we had to really be good stewards. So we came to the final conclusion of making a decision to pursue this one building, which was literally 2 minutes away from where we were in Collinsville, Illinois, which is about 5 minutes away from East St. Louis. And it's a club. It was an old country line dancing club, but it was known throughout the region as the place to go for fun, for revelry, for debauchery. And so when we actually toured the building, and this may sound crazy, but I just got to tell you how God is letting us evangelize a building and a region. It had a stripper pole in it. You took that one down though, I'm guessing, in the remodel. Actually, we didn't have to take it down. They auctioned off some of their stuff, and that was the first thing to go. Which I thought was quite telling, right? Yeah. So we did this building, and now we are entering into a capital campaign after when we purchased the building in 2019. We're like, this is probably it is the largest project our church has ever undertaken. It's a $3.3 million project of renovation and making a club a church. And so we have seen God do some amazing things. We've seen people come from all over the region to support financially. what we're doing on the east side of the river, which is, endearingly known as East St. Louis, and we call it the Metro East, as well as Collinsville is included in the Metro East designation. And so we're seeing literally God just awaken a region, and it has given our people such inspiration to know not only are we getting ourselves a home, but we also are leading with this idea that it's not about the building. The building is a tool, and we're excited about the tool, but it lets us do more ministry in a much more effective way.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I love. I love that about you, that it's more than a building. It's this message. When we start, this with our clients, we first start even before logos and colors and fonts. And, like you were saying, you got to get the people healthy. We got to get the message intentional. So we start with strategic messaging, right? We put together a whole blueprint. That's part of ArtSpeak's process. I just out of curiosity, what was that process like for you? Like, what were some of the big takeaways? What did you get out of it?
I got a 3-letter word. AHA. Aha.
Aha.
That's what it was for me. Like,
Okay.
I have a vision.
Tell me about that.
Like, I live, eat, and breathe vision casting. If you show me a desert, I'll show you a city. You show me an empty well, I'll show you a river. Like, that's kind of how I envision things. And I have a lot in my head, but what I learned through the process walking with ArtSpeak is how to fine tune, and hearing someone else bring their skill set like ArtSpeak did in that process. And to my world of vision casting, it gave me traction. Like, I wasn't just shooting to the clouds. I wasn't just speaking from the clouds, but now I'm able to see what's in the clouds and bring it to the ground level and say, this is our focus. So it helped us. We changed our vision statement. Through just our conversation, we really felt like we needed to hone in on what is the specific that God has called us to. So we went from love God, love others, and serve the world, which is awesome, but it got stale for us. It didn't motivate our people towards the mountaintop of glory. And so through the writing and partnership with ArtSpeak, Corey, yourself, and you all's team of writers came together, and now it's Find Healing, which is huge for us, right? Because we live in a world, especially with post-COVID-19, I think that's going to be a need for people to find real, authentic healing. And I'm not talking about just therapy, and I'm a big advocate for it, but I mean soul-searching healing that can only be found in God. And so it's Find Healing, Restart Your Fire. We really go after the person who has just fizzled out. They could be church displaced. They could love Jesus, but just done with church. We come for that crowd. We want them to know this is a church for you, healthy. And I say healthy in quotes because we are constantly helping to evolve, or should I say, we're constantly walking through the evolution of healthiness. And then the last part of that vision is make a difference, which is serve the world. Like, God called you to serve the world. You don't need a title. You don't need someone to give you a certification. Go do what you have been gifted to do. And so it has inspired our people. But it's another part to that process that I'm telling you, it is the bank for us. And it was the audience personas, these wonderful groups of people that really help us to put faces to their names and to those causes. A millennial couple, a Gen X couple, a zillennial couple, and it gives what their struggles are. So I lead in with every meeting, and this is what ArtSpeak did for us. I lead every meeting with those personas.
Okay. Keeping the target right in front of your team.
Yep. As a matter of fact, I made the edict, the rule, no funding can go to any ministry if it doesn't help us meet the objectives of those 3 people.
Oh, okay. So I love that.
We are putting the bank on that.
Yeah. See, I love that because you're building on your messaging. And I love how passionate you are about, find healing, restart your fire, make a difference. Because it's not just about those are the magic catchphrases. I think it's identifying who are you. Those resonate deeply with you and deeply with your team. And they build a bridge to that audience. And that's what I think that's where the magic is. That's where our strategic messaging leads to. Like, the message lives in the win-win when it's authentically you and it connects with those you're called to reach. So I love that now, after that's finished, you're building your leadership, you're building your church, you're building the focus of your people around those targets. Since that messaging has been, a lot's happened, right? Since in the last year, what's been going on? Give me the update right now, real time at Living the Word Church, even the last couple of weeks and months.
Yeah, well, I'll go back a little bit to say that one of the other roles is that, with the messaging, we were able to also help to create life in our leaders, right? If goes the leader, so goes the church. And so our leaders got reignited in that process. And now they're leading in with a newfound passion, because I think you could do all the branding in the world, but if leadership isn't on board, it's a waste of money. And so leaders got to want this, not because of colors and redesign and the accoutrements of marketing, but is it you? Is it what God called you to do? And then make it pop. Make it pop from that. And I know graphic designers hate to hear us say that. Make it pop. But I really mean it. Put your passion behind it. Put opportunities behind it, and put purpose behind it. Pop. Put passion, opportunities, purpose.
Oh, there it is, man. There it is. You're preaching now. I love it.
And so since that time, you all also helped us to really send the message of the building campaign and what it means. And I'm telling you, we were able to, through ArtSpeak's help, as well as getting the message out there to strategic partners, we were able to, in the last month, raise $265,000.
Wow.
In 1 month. 1 month.
In 1 month. Okay. That's the new promise that will roll out.
Come on, man. Let's do it. So it has helped us, a church that doesn't really have the socioeconomics to do this project. Like, let's just be honest. We're from an impoverished background. Our people are either getting a leg up, just got a leg up, or looking for legs. Like, that's kind of where they are. And so for us, we recognize that we would have to have a collection of support from across the region and across the nation to make this happen. And the messaging helped us to be clear. We had a clear ask, a clear direction, and a clear story. And you can't argue that, right? You can't argue a person reading something saying they're consistent, it's clear, I get what they're asking of me, and let's either move on it or let's not.
No, that's good. You've had some other wins too. Those are some big fundraising wins. The building is wrapping up, right? You're getting ready to move in, and I think you got some walkthroughs even today, right? Some inspectors. But you've also, I think I saw you on TV. I've heard you on the radio. I see you on TV. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so local station, Channel 2 News is what it's called here, actually caught wind of our story about what we were doing both in the community. We fed people, 24,300 people. This last time we fed 350 families. And so they heard about a partnership between the Crossing Church, which is predominantly white, and it's West County, which is outside of St. Louis, West County, but still considered St. Louis Metro. And then us, a predominantly Black church. We had been in partnership for years, and they had been walking with me from when we were 35 people strong. And so I was asked to speak this weekend and got on stage, and Greg, the senior pastor of the Crossing and the church, had come to the beautiful agreement to help us with $100,000. So it's really about, the story is deeper than just money. It's about Black and white church actually coming to the table and authentically helping each other with no strings attached. And so in the world of in the world of polarization and polarized relationships, I think we are being one of the examples that is saying, no, there are some examples of partnership and collaboration that's authentic and real. So the news station wanted to know about that story. Like, how is this gift showing the world, showing the region about race relations, which I thought was very powerful for them.
I love that. And I just say, and knowing you, having seen your ministry prior to knowing you personally, and then, and been a fan, I told you that when we first started hanging out, seeing your ministry still and its growth, knowing you personally now, dude, you are a collaborative leader. My prayer and hope is that the opportunities that you have, both in your church, in our region, that needs that voice of unity, voice of collaboration, voice of let's get real. So let's be real with the problems. You don't pull any punches, but also let's really find solutions so that we can have a collaborative, unified future. I love that. And I just hope, whether it's somebody listening, I hope you just get more and more opportunities, whether it's on Channel 2, or I heard your story on the radio on Boost FM, right? 98 and, or here or anywhere. I love that. I'll tell you, what if another leader watching this today messaged you, which I'd love for anyone to connect with you on as many ways as you would allow, but they were like considering the strategic messaging process, right? Getting that foundation. What would you tell them?
I would tell them, do it today. And I say that because it's a good stewardship move to hone in on a precision of messaging that you can literally resource and have some wins. When you know what you're here for and you define that in measurable ways, then I think that's God saying, thank you for being good and faithful steward. And so I would tell any pastor, if you want to motivate your leaders, if you want to motivate your church constituency, put a message that embodies who you've been called, who are you, and who the church has been called to reach. And then I'm serious, POP that message, passionately convey it, look for opportunities to reach those goals and find the purpose behind all of it. Or I would even say activate the purpose of your ministry behind those wonderful messages or should I say the messaging blueprint that comes out of that. So it's multiple messages that come from the blueprint, but it really helps you to say, this is who we are, this is where we're going, and this is how we'll get there.
Awesome. Thank you. And I just want to invite everyone to connect with Pastor David. You can see what all that's happening, even be a part of it if you want, but at Living the Word, right? livingtheword.net. Livingtheword.net is their church website. And I also know this, and he didn't ask this, this is not in the notes. You have done, I think already the fundraising, the build out of this building, the longevity that you've shown, the long haul, the work here in a part of our country, in a part of our region that desperately needs this kind of outreach. You've rehabbed what was once meant for evil. Now you're using it for declaring the gospel in an area that needs it so bad. I know that the percentage of fundraising needed to get into this building just a couple weeks from now isn't at 100 yet. And so am I right in that? Like we're close. And so I seriously, I want to invite anyone and everyone to be a part, fund in, sow in, and connect with Pastor David. You are one of the most articulate speakers that I know in our generation. And I mean that. And I've got a lot of friends out there that are like, hey, what about me? But no, seriously, you're one of the best. And so I know there's some people watching that are planning their 2022 speaking calendars at local areas and at conferences. You're the real deal, man. And anybody I know that I could point to you. So those that are watching, livingtheword.net, connect with Pastor David, connect with Living the Word Church, even be a part of the miracle of what God is doing on the east side of St. Louis. Pastor David, thank you, man. Such an honor to know you. And thanks for your time today.
Appreciate you, man. Looking forward to the connection.
All right. We'll talk soon.